So I've never done a virtual Q&A as a robot. So I'm not really sure the best way that we can do this, but I'm thinking it might be nice if you guys can, like, you don't have hands either to raise your hand. But I guess if you have a question, you can either, maybe it'd be good just to type it out because I can't hear you all unless I'm pretty close to you. So if you want to just type your question out, and then if I didn't quite get it right, you can also just kind of like explain, I guess, and talk it out too. But yeah, we're here and would love to answer any questions that you guys might have about the piece or technology or anything. I guess what I can do first is I'll just introduce everyone. So Brian over here with the little star, he is the person who created this virtual world and works at REM5, which is a virtual reality company that offers a bunch of different services for entertainment, but also for organizations and students as tools for their business and education. So super cool stuff. Over here, we have Kavi, who did the piano that you hear in the sound platform. And then we also have Ziad, who did the synths and some of the samples that you heard. And then let's see, Jalen, I'm not sure where Jalen is. He might be here somewhere, he might not. But he did bass, and then I see Brock in the back over here. Brock actually helped with being able to help us coordinate how to play live. So the music wasn't separately recorded. It was separately recorded, but they played together remotely. So they were able to build off each other remotely, and he might be able to answer more questions around engineering. And then last, I guess, is me, Adriana here, and I'm the person who kind of created the piece, the concept of the piece, and enlisted the help of all of these wonderfully talented people. Oh, thank you.
Clap, clap, clap.
Yeah.
I know.
Very nice.
Oh, I love
Very
it,
beautiful.
guys.
It's cool.
I recognize
So cool.
some voices in there. So yeah, do you, are there any questions that you guys have for any of us?
Adriana, this is Brock. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. I'm curious if you've ever thought about doing this in a different space of any kind, or like a different shape, a different vibe, maybe resembling a real space. Have you thought about doing that in any way?
Yeah, I have. So I think initially, I was really interested in being able to kind of have some type of virtual performance space that could be programmed. And that's kind of what got me interested in REM5 when I first found out about them through the Gamut Gallery. And I think just having the opportunity to create a project with this theater made it easy for me to think of like making a prototype of some sort. So I hope that this is just my first kind of prototype run, and I would love to continue to create, like amplify this project into an additional 6 rooms to really be able to like investigate this idea of sound healing and meditation, and how that might change in shape and tone and look and all of that. So yeah, this has just kind of opened up a lot of stuff.
So the music in there was created with musicians remotely live together, and it's now just it's a recording in there, correct?
Yeah, so now that recording is playing infinitely on loop.
Cool. And when did you record it, and how did that go, if we can ask?
Yes, Brock might even be able to answer a little bit more specifically, but we recorded it, I want to say the last week of December. And we were able to use a platform that Brock had kind of researched called Jamkazam, which allowed us to monitor live. It went pretty well, and this might answer Amy's question. I'm not sure if I said your name correctly, but we were just asking like what if the music had sort of any inspiration to it. And I think it does, though kind of what I gave as a prompt to the musicians was sort of a template for them to move through this idea of being able to have an awareness around negative feelings or any guilt or fear. So the idea that sound would make you confront something that you've been kind of holding on to that's been, I guess, causing you some strife, being able to then ask questions about that would get you to examine it from a different perspective, like where does this come from? How long have you been carrying it? Who would you be without this feeling in your life? Is there anything that you need to do in order to let go of it? Are you able to kind of distance yourself and see yourself separate from this feeling? And then sonically also kind of envisioning letting go of whatever that feeling might be into something that would resemble joy, or a feeling of joy and acceptance, of letting that go and then being able to let in something much lighter and much more comforting. So that was kind of like the, I would say, like curatorial notes that I gave them. And then they just kind of riffed off of it. And I think listening to one another, we're able to kind of create what you guys hear in that space. Inspirational wise, I would guess, let me just read this one. What was one of the biggest challenges for creating a space and audio story? Yeah. Oh, thank you so much too, Clayton, for those words. Yeah, I feel like one of the biggest things, probably challenges, was just the fact that like we can't really meet together. I think if I didn't have that challenge of like not really being able to be in the same space, I wouldn't have come up with this at all. I don't know how I would have, because I probably would have gone on like business as usual, the things that I know work. And because none of my usual things could work, I was sort of like forced to think outside of the box, and just so happened to come upon like somebody's story with the Gamut Gallery, and REM5 had this installation, and then through talking with them was able to kind of like conceive of this, and it all seemed like it was possible. So once I had, I guess, the idea and I presented it to Brian, there weren't that many challenges. It was kind of like they were able to do everything I asked. So that was nice. Oh yeah, the idea of this being therapy. I'm not a therapist. I wouldn't say that I'm a sound healer either. Those are really specialized things. But I do believe that like with intention, we can heal ourselves. And I think that there's a lot of tools that are available, but in the end, it really comes down to ourselves and our mind, of like how we're able to sort of frame and reframe our realities, and to be able to process difficult things. So I felt like with everything that has sort of been happening in our lives, it's important to have space where you can sort of disconnect, and to be able to maybe, I guess, hold some time to be able to let things pass. And I think that sometimes people can do that through just simple meditation. But I also thought that this might also be a way of sort of virtually, but also physically sort of entering a new space, and how sometimes that can give us a lot of protection, because then we don't have the same sort of defense mechanisms that we might if it was so close to us as human beings. So I guess I'm just sort of curious, what would happen. This is definitely an experiment, but it's something that's deep within my practice to be able to create sounds that really help people. And I had broken my ankle and I was like, are there any sound things that I can do to help like regenerate my body? And I came across like solfeggio frequencies. I talked a little bit about that in the video. But this idea that like certain frequencies help sort of oscillate different parts of the brain, and that stimulating kind of like who we are and our personalities. And I just thought that was sort of a fascinating kind of like hypothesis, and why not explore that? I don't think it actually does us harm. I think even if it doesn't work necessarily through vibrations, it could definitely work through sort of like intention, the power of the mind. But we do know that sound does affect the brain and does affect the body. So there is some scientific evidence that sound really is healing. So I just invite you guys to like make this space, you know, yours if you need it, and share it with people. And it's going to be up for until a server crashes. So yeah, please come back frequently, and I hope to be able to make more of these spaces. Really want to thank everybody involved, like the musicians, Kavi, Ziad, Jalen. They're so incredible in their own right, and I think it took a lot of trust to just be able to do this, you know, to put them in this position where they wouldn't necessarily know how to make everything happen. Yeah, and it just, yeah, I just really appreciate them for trusting my vision and being able to put themselves out there. Thank you so much to Mid-City Studio, because like Brock made it so much easier, and not having to do things, you know, email by email, but really feel like we were live together creating something. And of course to Brian, to REM5, like this is just incredible. I really feel like he made the whole vision come to light, and it's just so exciting to like feel like finally somebody like understands these things that I want to do. So that was really awesome. And Andres, who isn't here right now, you know, just really appreciate him kind of creating this other world for us. The Cedar, of course, I have to say thank you to them for making this possible. I am Jada. I am totally really interested in exploring virtual reality. So, you know, if you guys have any leads on any grants or anything that might help me kind of intersect technology and music, I would just love to get something like that, so I can continue to do this work and you know, commission other artists to create other rooms like this. So